Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is David Hain Menendez, and I am the Executive Director of Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light. I recognize some of your faces, but not everybody. As I said, please make sure that you change your name to your actual name, pronouns, congregations, locations, things like that. You can also obviously drop any and all of that into the chat. Thank you for joining us for our first ever quarterly congregation meeting for Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light. I came up with this idea because I realized that I can try to come and get each of you individually, but I'm in North Central PA, and while I drive a lot around the state to meet people and do events, it is difficult to see some of you, especially those that are in the Erie area or Pittsburgh. So I wanted to make sure that we not only connect and that I hear what you guys are doing, as well as what you want to do and how PIPL can best support and serve you in those ways, but also for us to actually have a place as congregations, as communities of faith, to come together and share wisdom in this way. So there's no expectation that any of you came ready to share anything other than just to introduce yourselves. After that, in the future meetings, I would love it if a congregation or two or more might prepare a little thing about like the community garden they're doing, or their plans to install a solar array, or any number of things that they may be acting on in their local congregation. Going in that same vein, the work that you do is so important to our mission, and your participation in PIPL, both through financial support and through getting out the word of climate justice in your communities, to your congregations, is vital. To that end, I would love to know more about what you're actually doing on a regular basis so that we can bring more people to your congregation. So St. Paul's is in Pittsburgh, Andrea? Yeah. I'd imagine that if St. Paul's has an event and they want people to come to volunteer, to participate, to just know about the event, let us advertise it for you. Let us talk to all the other congregations. We want to bring people to you to support the work that you're doing. And in so doing, advertise what they could be doing in their own communities. And then PIPL, by bringing in new congregations, can support them in that work, right? This is a way for us to give them ideas of what they can ask us for so that we can then make that real, really bring that into the world. So my request then is simply be in touch, email me, email the general info at PIPL. This could be anything from you have an idea, you want to write a letter, you want to put something in the newspaper, you saw something interesting online. It could literally be anything. Just be in touch because it supports our community. And I will say, and I know Kathy and Amani, who are on the call, will be very happy about what I'm about to say, which is we're getting a new website. Our website is basically set up as a blog, and it's not really effective for what we need. But in building the new website, it increases our capacity quite a lot. In building a website, we need to populate it with content, both our old content, and we want new and exciting stuff. So if you want to be a contributor in that way, or anybody from your congregation wants to be a contributor in that way, we welcome you because you are our community. We are you and you are us. So to that end, as I said, if you feel comfortable dropping it in the chat, if not, you can feel free to maybe popcorn around and introduce yourself. But first, I just wanted to start with a land acknowledgement and a very brief prayer that I, as a Muslim, and all Muslims generally start most actions with, which is the opening phrase from the Quran called the Fatiha, or the opening, which goes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alim. That's just a shortened version of it. But in addition to that, I want to acknowledge that I am currently sitting on Susquehannock land and recognize the debt that we all, as later generations, whether descendant from or not from the indigenous people of this lands, have a debt to carry on as stewards of creation, and in the vein of all of our own moral, ethical, and religious traditions, to carry on the ongoing work to really make a future for other generations, to save our planet, and to really live the mission that our Creator has clearly demonstrated to us through scriptures and through the beauty of all the creation around us. So with that being said, I will stop talking, and I will probably popcorn it over to Kathy first, because she's already unmuted and she's a member of our staff.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was unmuted. So I hope you weren't hearing the sounds of construction in the background or typing or frantic typing. I'll be taking notes, as I'm sure Amani will be too. But I'm really proud to say I've completed my first year at PA-IPL March 1st, and it's a great group of people to work with. I am thrilled to see so many of our Pittsburgh congregations here on this call. So we have Andrea from St. Paul's, Carrie from Sisters of St. Joseph Baden, Catherine from Calvary Episcopal, Chris from St. Andrews, and Mary Ann from the Episcopal Diocese and Church of the Redeemer, which is a big one too. So these are what you're seeing here today, representing the southwestern Pennsylvania landscape, are some of our most influential congregations, and we're thrilled to be working with you on all topics. But I'll put in our shameless plug for the bike ride while I'm here. Starting May 1st and going through May 29th, we do have the bike and hike this year. So I know Chris, for one, from St. Andrews, is going to be looking to his youth group to possibly participate in that as a team. We've had a request from a Northeast PA, our NEPA group from Scranton, a Unitarian church in Scranton, who's going to put together a hiking team. We want some biking teams. And I was talking with Carrie about the fact that these don't have to, we're not looking for necessarily 10-pound hiking boots and sticks, to be walking through the rocks and valleys and mountains of Pennsylvania. If we have folks in wheelchairs and walkers and on recumbent bikes, that's great too. So we just want to get people out. We want to get them to engage in nature, and we want to celebrate the fellowship that we have together and build a group of people that will work towards climate justice across Pennsylvania and possibly globally. So I'm thrilled to be working with PA-IPL on that, and I'll turn it over to the next person.
So Amani, if you can just introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amani Reed. I'm the Policy Engagement Manager for PA-IPL, working closely with Kathy and David. I host a policy update call on the first Thursdays of the month the fourth Thursday of the month from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And this is a way for us to build on knowledge on the state and country level on climate emissions. We look at federal and state and local government, and there's some actions that we speak on as well. And we usually have speakers. If you guys are interested in the next call, we're going to have Penn Environment speaking on Thursday, April 28th at 5 o'clock p.m. And I can drop the sign up link as well. And more recently, we just had a climate justice and jobs rally in Philadelphia at City Hall. We had Senator Shreve Street speak, as well as staff members from Senator Saval's office and drawing a blank on the last person.
Councilwoman Gims.
Councilwoman Helen Gimm, yes,
Gims,
Councilwoman Gimm, yeah, her outreach director was able to speak as well, and we're hoping to have more actions like that in the future, and would love for you guys to be a part. Thank you so much. Should I just pass it?
So
sorry,
I'll say I don't want to. Yeah, sorry.
I gotta hop back on. I missed Gail Neustadt from Bethel. She's down there in the corner with her picture off. So welcome also, Gail.
So I don't want to make anybody put themselves on the spot. If anybody wants to speak up and introduce themselves, you can feel free to unmute quickly as I prepare the next stage of our event, or otherwise, like I said, just drop any information that you want in the chat. And even if you have some exciting project that's going on, let us know that too.
It's Gail, and I'll follow up because Kathy just mentioned me, and thanks for the recognition, Kathy, and also for all your help in moving Bethel forward in joining the Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light. Let's get that right. So we are a synagogue located in the South Hills of Pennsylvania. And I'm very excited to be a part of this now. We're going to be, along with a PAIPL, we will be participating in the Earth Day program that Lebo Green is putting on. And I'm excited about everything. And we're now getting ready to create a poster for that, trying to locate all that we need for that participation. And once again, Kathy, thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to say, my role is I am on the Sisterhood board and as part of social action, and in particular, climate justice.
Great, thank you. And then Chris, I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I'm Chris Atwood. I'm from St. Andrew Lutheran Church in Shadyside, located right between Pitt and CMU. We've undertaken 2 projects this year. Starting last year, we removed all of our invasive species from our churchyard and property, and we'll be putting in native gardens on May 14th.
Nice.
And then we've also are currently switching all of our outside lighting to solar.
Wonderful. And then I saw Sheila and Catherine, you both unmuted.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize right away. I have a conflict just for a few minutes. I will come back, but
Sure.
I'm from Calvary, which is also in Shadyside. Hello, Chris. We have youth group gardens going this year. We have done a number of modifications to our building. Our building is a little complicated in that it is on the National Register, and it's very limited what we can do at this point. But we are mindful of in climate concerns as we make changes. We have also had a small group, but growing rapidly, of sort of people meeting regularly to share readings and ideas, and hope that we can get some connections. The idea of aligning with you folks is to build connections in the community and to get ideas, and the bike ride sounds fun, and we hope to see you. But I have to apologize. I have to knock off right now, but I'll be back. Thanks.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Novy from the Church of the Redeemer in Squirrel Hill, Pittsburgh, and also from the Social Justice and Outreach Committee of the Episcopal Diocese. And I'm happy to say that we are planning to start an environmental network in the Episcopal Diocese. And the first meeting of that will be on April 20th, and we expect that a lot of it will happen electronically as opposed to in person. People won't necessarily have to come to committee meetings, but that it will be a very good way to share information about what's going on environmentally, what possible resources there are. We as a committee have been working on emphasizing to churches in the diocese the desirability of increasing their energy efficiency. And we gave out some money for them to do that because we had more in our treasury because of the lockdown, all the things we couldn't do. But it seems that it's very likely that the diocese will now start working on that also, which is really great news.
I'll say good afternoon. My name is George Dempsey, and I'm a board member with PAIPL. And I attend St. Stephen's Lutheran Church, a tiny Lutheran church in McAlavy's Fort in central Pennsylvania near Huntingdon. And I just wanted to mention 2 activities, Zoom things we're having in May that might interest you. I'm the moderator for the Central Pennsylvania chapter of PAIPL, and we have Greg Williams, who's a past board member, who's going to be giving a talk with lots of tips on planting native trees and shrubs, and that'll be Monday, May 9th. And secondly, Sister Donna Corba and I do a program right now on active hope, and the theme is going to be eco-justice. and it'll be Wednesday evening, May 18th. And I'm sure that information will go out to all of your congregations about it, and we hope you can join us. Thank you.
Sheila, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Sheila. I'm new to the group. My church is Grace Harrisburg. We are right downtown, 1 block in front of the Harrisburg Capitol building. We don't have enough land to plant native species, but the advantage to that is we don't have enough land for invasive species to be there either. So we are working after the last Zoom call I was on with the lighting guys. I made a mention to the church about switching the outside lights to LEDs. And so we are looking into that, and I'll have to hook up with those guys and see if there's a way for us to get some sort of grant money or something. We are on the National Historic Registry, so we can't change too much to the outside of our building. And we certainly can't put solar on the roof. But we'll see what we can do. And also, I'm really excited about the native trees and shrubs, because I'm looking to put some trees in at my house, and that would be very cool. So other than that, I don't think there's anybody on the call from Harrisburg, right?
No, just yourself, I
No.
think.
And David.
Oh no, David. Yes,
Oh,
yes. Sorry.
David. Hi, David.
Yes, hi,
So,
Sheila.
um,
Yeah, I'm lead for our green team at our church. It was established last year. So we planted a pollinator garden last fall. I think we have a couple dozen plants we planted in the rear of the church. And then there's a land trust, or a local land trust organization, Manada Conservancy, which is actually based near Hershey.
mhm.
And they're having a native plant sale not too far from our township on May 7th. We decided we were going to supplement the garden, and going to go out there, and we pre-ordered some plants. So we're going to be planting those also probably that day. And I've advertised it also in our church bulletin. So maybe we'll have some others that will need some native plants.
Is
Maybe
that
I
on
should
your
actually
church
sign up.
website, David?
Pardon me?
Is that on your church website?
I don't know. I don't think so. You have to go to Manada Conservancy. They have a website. They're based in Hummelstown
Yeah,
near Hershey.
okay.
Manada Conservancy. And there's a list of events also that they sponsor. Yeah, they have speakers. Yeah, the native plant sale, a couple other things that are on the agenda.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking I should probably sign up for all of your bulletins. I just realized, because I could probably just mine them for the data that I need as well. But I think that, like, David, when you do that planning, I would love photos of it, and then we can post that and advertise it. I will also talk about this later, the IPL Cool Congregation Challenge, which they actually, you guys do great projects, you apply, and you get thousands of dollars as a award for doing the work you already did. And there's different categories that they do, everything from like electric vehicles to like plantings to weatherization and everything in between. So I would encourage all of you to do so. I think we had a runner up in Pennsylvania this past year, so they got like $1,500 to go towards the congregation and the work they want to do. For the sake of time, I just want to move along a little bit. If people really want to introduce themselves more, I'm more than happy to give a couple more minutes, but I also want to make sure that we hit everything else that we need to do. Okay, sorry, Andrea and Jacqueline, who just jumped on as well. So next up, I just want to finally and very happily announce that we are giving our 2021 Visionary Award to Maya Van Rossum. who is the Delaware River Keeper, and she was so kind as to actually make a recording for us to watch. I'm just going to make sure that the sound is on. Can everybody see that on your screens? Okay, so I will let Maya speak for herself. But first I will say that the PAPL Visionary Award is given annually. It's presented upon usually our conference and annual meeting to those who have engaged in significant action that tends and sustains the earth and all its creatures. So the recipient of this award has called us to be mindful of the moral and ethical consequences of our actions, helping to protect the natural environment from the threat of climate change and preserve it for generations to come. So we found that Maya and her work embodied this in significant ways, and we are very happy to name her and officially give her the 2021 PIPL Visionary Award.
Hi, my name's Maya Ramrasam. I'm the Delaware Riverkeeper and also the founder of Green Amendments for the Generations. But you know that already because you are honoring me and my organizations with this very, very kind award and recognition. I can't tell you how much it means to me. You know, I've had the honor of serving as the Delaware Riverkeeper for 29 years now. And throughout that time, really having the honor of being able to fight for our beautiful Delaware River, all of the ecosystems in its watershed, and all of the communities that depend upon our Delaware River and its tributary streams, human communities and non-human communities. And it's a big job and it's a hard job. Of course, as you and I know, it's not the job of a single person. That really is the job of a community. And I am honored to have representing that community, and in very significant part that community, my organization, the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, which has nearly 25 staff members and 25,000 supporters who engage with us in the effort of protecting our beautiful Delaware River and its watershed. It's just been such a thrill and an honor to work with these people, to work with all of you, to battle against fracking, to battle against pipelines, to battle against LNG exports, to fight for the Atlantic sturgeon of the Delaware River, for the short-nosed sturgeon, for the horseshoe crabs, for the migratory shorebirds, the red-knot rufa, to be able to fight against deepening, even though we lost, and also to fight against the Salem nuclear generating station that kills over 14 billion Delaware River fish, eggs, and larvae every single year. And of course, to fight for the clean water and the healthy flows that come down from the upper reaches of the main stem Delaware River and from so many of its tributaries. Basically, at the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, if it is something that threatens the health and the safety of our beautiful Delaware River and its watershed, we at the Delaware Riverkeeper Network take it on. And it's as a result of that work that I've had the honor of founding Green Amendments for the Generations, right? And that I've developed this incredible vision to have enforceable constitutional environmental rights protections in the Bill of Rights section of every single state constitution across our nation, and ultimately at the federal level. And I'm honored to say that while I embarked on this journey, there were only 2 states with that highest constitutional protection for environmental rights here in the United States of America: Pennsylvania, in part due to my Delaware Riverkeeper Network work, and Montana. But over this past year, as a result of Green Amendments for the Generations, we've inspired the passage of a constitutional amendment of this kind in the state of New York. And we have constitutional proposals in nearly a dozen other states, with more and more getting excited about it all the time. And so that work too has been incredible and wonderful. And to know that there are people like you who not only stand with me in fighting for constitutional environmental rights, in fighting for the Delaware River, its tributary streams, and all of its communities, but to at the same time then have you single me out for this special recognition really means a lot to me. So I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be there with you in person in this time of COVID, but I do want you to know how deeply touched I am and how truly honored I am by this special recognition and award, and how much I look forward to working with all of you to rise to the occasion, to defend our Delaware River and to defend all of our communities who should have, don't yet have, but should have in every part of our nation a constitutional right to pure water, clean air, a stable climate, and healthy environments. Thank you very, very much. And I hope you have a superb, superb day, an awesome week, and an awesome year, because you certainly have made my day, my week, my month, and my year very, very special because of your kind recognition.
So obviously, so much of what Maya is doing and has been doing is crucial to our work. And I think that PIPL is happy to support organizations and individuals like herself. If you know PIPL well enough, you know that we are a organization that really likes to partner with others. And I usually try to say that we are the least jealous spouse you can imagine, because we actually encourage you to find other partners because it strengthens the work that we're doing. And to that end, I think that not only do we see all of our congregations as partners, but we know that you also usually have toes in other ponds, right? You're working with other organizations. So letting us know like how Interfaith partners with the Chesapeake or Power Interfaith or the EDF or EEN or any of these other organizations are working with you in your congregations or in your community. Let's try to figure out ways in which we can all do that together. I do want to recognize our board president is now on the call, Nathan Martin. So
everybody, good to see you all. Happy to be here.
And then the next stage, excuse me, I promise I do not have COVID, but my throat has been rough in these first few days of the spring. The next thing that we are going to do then is move on to the PowerPoint, which will kind of lay out what we're currently doing at PIPL and hopefully generate some questions, as well as open up opportunities for you to be involved. Let me say it that way. I welcome your questions at any time. I will not be able to see your wonderful faces while I'm presenting, but you can either write to Kathy or everybody in the chat, or if it's something that needs to be immediately addressed, you can feel free to unmute and just interrupt me in that moment if you have a question or anything else. The only thing that I have after that is just to open up the discussion and hear more about what your needs are at your congregation and what your desires are to do this work moving forward, because as I said, we want to do more of this work with you. I will stop talking again, or temporarily, as I share my screen. Slideshow. So, as I said, this is going to hopefully be a quarterly congregation meeting. I don't expect that everybody will always be able to dedicate all of the time that would be necessary to attend every single one of these meetings, but I do hope that you become a regular attendant. As I said, we are recording this for those that couldn't attend. We are also trying to verify all of our contact information for all of the different congregations and organizations across the state. And we're hoping to grow. You know, this group at the moment, 20 some of us, represents only a portion of the congregations that we have in our organization. But we're hoping to double or triple the amount that we actually claim as PIPL congregations. We are also reestablishing what the covenant or the what was the word, Kathy, the other day? Not promises, but commitment. Yes, our commitments as individuals and as congregations are to the work of climate justice. So you can keep an eye out for that. And the one thing that would make this easier also is that I'm hoping for our annual meeting, which takes place every year no matter what, will count as one of the quarterly congregation meetings. So it would have congregations and individuals who don't represent congregations. So just what is PIPL? Just for those of you that are new, just to hear this for the first time, and those of you that have worked with us for a while to remember that we are an organization that hopes to inspire and mobilize people of faith and conscience to take bold and just action on climate change. So then our mission is to not only inspire and motivate these people and communities, but also in specific ways that recognize that our present circumstance demands action, right? We cannot be passive in this. We cannot be passive witnesses, but rather witnesses who actually do action in the world in one way or another, because there's too much loss, too much suffering as a result of climate change, pollution, and global warming. So we also recognize that our sacred texts, our traditions, our values as individuals or as collectives really require us to take on this action to protect creation and pursue justice as the ultimate aim. Our actions then can engender hope and motivate others to change in personal, communal, and public ways when it comes to legislation and public policy. So what do we do? What are the actual things? So you can see here, it's a fairly long list. It's a variety of different things. I put it in alphabetical order, so there's no priority to it. But it ranges from things that some people are really excited about, like advocacy and policy, or our bike ride, conference, things that are educational that can work within your congregation, like the toolkit, or also things that maybe if you're not a policy and advocacy person, creation care, habitat restoration, doing acts of stewardship in your community, energy conservation, weatherization that can benefit your actual house of worship. I already spoke to educational components, but also, like, as I keep saying over and over again, doing projects that make sense to you. So if there is a project that you are thinking about, that you want to get off the ground, that you need advising on, that you need funding for, we are actively seeking to fund projects for our congregations and members. But we need to know that they exist, and we need to prepare. So when Kathy and I are seeing grants, when we're seeing opportunities, that we know we can go to St. Andrews, we can go to this congregation, we can go to that masjid, we can go to that temple, that there is already something ready to go. Importantly, as George said earlier, we are an interfaith organization, so we take our spiritual care very important to us, rather. Not only do we have the quarterly spiritual care sessions that we'll talk about later, but I think that it's throughout everything that we do, right? We come together in prayer. We make sure that the spiritual and the moral components of what we are doing are at the forefront of our mind and in the guidance that we provide to elected officials and others. And then lastly, we do trainings, and in particular, we are kind of an access point for resources, right? Kathy, myself, Amani, and others are all getting constant emails, sitting on trainings, attending coalition calls, and collecting these things to send out in newsletters and broadsheets and individual emails, and posting them on our website and social media accounts. You've already kind of met most of the team, right? Myself, the executive director, Kathy Habrowski, the development associate, Amani Reed, the policy engagement manager, and Ariel Sternman, who is not on the call currently, is our administrator. We also have a bookkeeper and currently quite a few fellows who are across the state who will be working on specific grant-driven projects. So how are we unique? Why PIPL, right? I love and I joined the organization because of the moral and ethical and particularly the interfaith approach to advocacy that we take, right? I, as a Muslim, represent less than 1% of the country, practically, and certainly less than 1% of Pennsylvania. I could organize all day long within my own faith tradition. It will have an impact, but we are collectively more powerful in combination. I also think that people of faith are not always as comfortable in environmental circles, and that there is a different interaction when you're sometimes navigating secular environmental justice organizations. And I like to lead my life as a faith-driven individual. And I think that many of us are called to this work in that way. I also like that it's a focus on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, right? We do federal work, we do local work, but there are other organizations. We have a national organization for Interfaith Power and Light that focuses on the federal. So we can really dig our heels in and do and focus on what needs to be done in Pennsylvania. Sustained nonpartisan, and I want to emphasize that, nonpartisan advocacy and guidance. I'll talk more about that at length in later slides, policies that mitigate and adapt to climate change, and that we advocate for policies to support climate justice. Again, that is the ultimate goal, is the equitable transition to a post-fossil fuel just future for all. So what are the types of advocacy? And I know Amani's on this call, so she can chime in or answer any questions, but again, strictly nonpartisan, focus on our Commonwealth, everything that you saw earlier. But then what is sustained advocacy, right? Sustained advocacy is a form of advocacy that doesn't shift with movements. It doesn't change from month to month and year to year. Rather, it's the effort to connect with legislators and policymakers on a frequent basis, on a continuous basis, to engender those relationships so that we can guide them. We can guide them through public events, direct actions, and actually speaking to them as lobby visits, town halls, giving testimony, things like that. So there's quite a lot of different ways that we can do this, and you as individuals or as congregations can do this not only by registering and making sure that your people vote, but also by joining us on letter writing campaigns and through listening to Amani's policy updates so that you can talk to your community about what's going on. And then lastly, and something that we're going into a little bit more this year, is voter education. So having voter guides and information about voter registration dates and where you can vote and voter rights and things like that, to make sure that our community and all communities have the ability to participate in the electoral process. Again, I keep saying it, nonpartisan, right? We are not on one side of the aisle or the other. We are a sustained advocacy group. We have these updates. And one of the biggest ways in which we try to get out and gain visibility for climate justice and for the faith voice of climate justice is through our annual advocacy bike and hike, which Kathy spoke about a little bit earlier, and I will be talking about more. And also partnerships, where IPL has thousands of members, Delaware River Keepers has thousands of members, a lot of organizations have lots of members that we don't reach on a normal basis. So by working together, we can definitely catch the attention of the press, of communities, and of our lawmakers. So I may turn a little bit of this over to Kathy for a minute, but I invite you to join us for this year's bike ride, bike and hike. We were conscious in making sure that the hiking and walking option were available for people, because we heard from people that say, I don't own a bike, I don't ride a bike, I'm not physically able to ride a bike, but I would walk. And we recognize that all of us come to our activities and to this work with different abilities, and wanted to recognize that in this year's advocacy event, and also recognize that if we only have the ride in one spot in the state, that you can't all participate. So as was the case last year, this year we will also have it in 6 regions across Pennsylvania, or you can do it on your own self-guided way, but still know that there are many people across the state who are riding with you, if not physically, at least in spirit. Kathy, is there anything else that you want to touch on?
Well, probably really our goal, I mentioned earlier, but there are a few newcomers to the call after that we really are seeking to create an opportunity for what bikers and hikers to connect their supporters, their members, to the broader PA-IPL community by sharing their journeys, along with the diversity of the landscape and life across our amazing Commonwealth. We're very blessed to have beautiful river valleys, mountains, forests, many states do not have. And I'd love to see some of our work go national in this regard, where we're sharing our stories on social media that might go viral. That would be exciting. I heard from 2 of our bikers in State College who may not be able to join the ride, but I'm encouraging them to join anyway, because they're going to ride the Camino de Santiago, the Pilgrim's Trail from France to Spain during the month of May. Now, wouldn't that be something to see? They may not be able to broadcast while they're doing it because their internet service probably will be spotty. But when they come back, I would love to be able to have them share their journey, because that's truly a faith-based journey for them, as well as an environmental journey through those terrific landscapes as well. And part of this is really to remind all of us what we work so hard to protect, particularly in environmental justice communities where people don't have access to nature the way some of us do. By increasing those folks' access to nature, we demonstrate to them why climate justice is so important and why we need them to reach out for themselves and for others, and why we need to reach out for them. But as we mentioned, bike 100 miles, walk 50 miles, walk 2 miles. But if you share that with us, that's just better than not doing anything. And we are looking for riders, hikers, captains for both hiking groups and riding groups. You'll be receiving an email from me today with a few, or tomorrow morning probably, with updated registration links and bike ride website links. We've had some technological issues that we seek to solve. So this is just one of our ways to connect with all of you. And I'll talk about grants and that sort of thing later, I expect, David.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I mean, I just want to emphasize, like, this is an advocacy opportunity, so it's visibility. We can also set up lobby visits. I also love the idea, as we used to go down to DC and meet with our legislators. We can do the same thing in your community, whether it's your mayor, your council members, your commissioners, your local reps and senators, things like that. I mean, the opportunities are available. We would love to direct that towards advocacy efforts, but you know, getting 20 bike riders to show up at your mayor's office has a nice impact, right? Also, the interfaith component of it, as well as the press is more likely to pick it up, right? So it gets one more piece of messaging out there that can support the overall mission of climate justice. The last thing I'll say is I think this is one of the most unique ways of engaging younger people, because if you have young, healthy people that have been locked up through pandemic for this long, this is a way of getting out, having multi-generational family time that is healthy and for a good cause. So I love the idea of trying to get youth groups involved, as I think somebody else said earlier. Moving on to broader advocacy and policy, we do have a monthly letter writing session that is a collaborative effort between PIPL and the Jewish Earth Alliance to our legislators. The topic changes every month, but we've been regularly pumping them out for a good amount of months now. We also have training to support not only chapters and others in in this, whether it's excuse me, templates to do advocacy or specifically guidance on letters to the editors and op-eds. George, the board member who spoke earlier, writes quite a lot of these. I and he have given trainings on this that we have recorded and online. We are also more than happy to provide you the content to put out letters to the editor and op-eds so that you can modify it as you see fit and then put it into your own local paper. We have lots of petitions that come across us. We don't tend to be the organizers of petitions. We do sign on to some petitions ourselves as an organization, but that's always a very low lift opportunity. And then lastly, PIPL as an organization gives public statements, you know, whether it's press statements, putting them out into the local papers, or giving public testimony at hearings and so forth, so that it goes on the record as this is important to the faith community of Pennsylvania. This is also all made all the more possible because of our partnerships. And I listed just a handful of these, right? The top category there is largely faith or interfaith groups. The middle category is broader environmental and climate and environmental justice groups. And then the last category is just local groups that we work with. I've even done planting sessions with voices, right? There's no limit to who we can interact with, and we welcome everybody to participate in our kind of big tent mentality. Otherwise, we also have our annual conference, which is traditionally every year in November. As you can see here, it's the largest gathering of people of faith concerned about climate change annually, and it is an opportunity not only for worship, workshops, resources, networking, and so much more. We really make sure, especially in the distributed conference as it has been for the last couple of years, to make sure that local knowledge is prioritized, right? I think that all of us have been on national or statewide calls where we feel disconnected. And I think that we are prioritizing that local people have local knowledge and can give that most effectively to their peers that are in this work together. We also have a congregational toolkit, which I will be sending out a copy of to all of the congregations, you all especially, but everybody else that wasn't able to make it tonight. This was a toolkit that is kind of a case study and guided tour of how one could have a climate team, how one could be engaged in this work, and to do it on your own terms. It was developed in partnership with St. Martin in the Field in Chestnut Hill, which is a neighborhood in Philadelphia. St. Martin in the Field, yeah. It's a great guide. It also helps build a more, as I said, like relational, directed but kind way of getting into this work, which is maybe more approachable for most congregations than just reading a like, how do I do a rain garden? That may not be really in keeping with the kind of broader mission of a congregation. Building on that, then, one of these things is creation care, right? We do tree planting. Last year, 10,000 trees across central Pennsylvania alone. This year, Greg Williams, who you can see here in the top right-hand corner, a former board member, he already has 5,000 trees coming to central Pennsylvania, which are being distributed basically as we speak. We hope to probably get close to 10,000 trees again this year, and we've been planting between 1,000 and 2,000 trees every year since or before then. Philadelphia all has tree tenders, which had focused on private property off-street trees as well as street trees as part of the Philadelphia Horticultural Society kind of movement to not only mitigate flooding, but also to combat heat sink effect in neighborhoods without a significant tree canopy. And then in Pittsburgh, we have a blueberry project whereby we distributed hundreds of blueberry plants to urban neighborhoods so as to be able to plant them in minimal yards that can't necessarily have a full-scale tree, but then are able to year after year provide delicious and nutritious blueberries to their residents. Some of you were speaking earlier about the removal of invasive species, projects related to habitat restoration, greening opportunities, and gardening and raised beds, which is something that I am particularly interested in combating food deserts and food scarcity, particularly in lower income neighborhoods across our state. Energy conservation and weatherization is something that has not been in the forefront of our work during COVID because of its obvious necessity to be in person. But we do have an IPL Cool Congregations Challenge, which I mentioned earlier, where you can sign up and be in competition with congregations across the country and potentially win cash award. They also have a startup kit. Our IPL national partner has this. Beat the Heat was a project in North Philadelphia to combat the heat sink effect, which I referred to earlier. We also have the information about Weatherization First, which was a project that we did previously, and I would love to get something like it going again. The PA Power Switch is an opportunity to shop around.
Yeah, sure. I just clicked it back.
Great. Thank you. I don't know why. Maybe we ran out of cloud storage. So as I was saying, PA Power Switch is the way in which you can shop around for cleaner, greener, and less expensive energy. We also then provide resources and the names of auditors and solar installers and things like that. We're not necessarily promoting any specific individual, but we do know good ones that are out there, and we would love to connect you to them. And then lastly, giving resources like the Energy Star Action Workbook for congregations and other such resources that exist out there for people to start their journey or fulfill their journey. Otherwise, we do quite a lot of climate education. So currently we have, as I said, grants that are for watershed education, climate voter education. We have our monthly or quarterly chapter meetings across the state, a quarterly statewide meeting, all of which are programmatic driven. They have specific speakers and specific topics that you can check out on our website and Facebook page. as well as they are often advertised in our newsletter and in individual area emails. So if you don't live in Pittsburgh, you will not likely get the Pittsburgh emails, but you will be able to find it on our Facebook and website. Otherwise, setting up listening sessions and town halls is something that we've done in the past and that we hope to do now that we're kind of moving out of the pandemic more and more. We are more than happy to give speeches, talks, workshops, and in particular for both youth and adults. We want to make sure that we can't connect with youth early on and get them moving in a moral tradition that prioritizes climate justice. As I said, we are one of 46 affiliates of IPL National. We have chapters across the state, as I've listed them here, that are either existing already or are being established and grown. We are more than happy to do local congregational and chapter-based projects, as I mentioned earlier, providing funding from grants that we could apply for and the middleman for to manage those grants for you, but then to make sure that you are actually receiving the funding. And then we have 3 ongoing statewide projects, and as I said, a quarterly meeting that I run 4 times a year. Kathy would be the person that would primarily talk about grants, but I think just for the time's sake, we might move on a little bit for now. I referred to the spiritual resources. We want to make sure that all of this work is grounded in moral and faith traditions. We have sample sermons and resources on our website. We hope to make more of these. We have been sending out tips of sustenance, which has gone a little bit by the wayside, but I would love to find somebody to help me do that, to continue to send out these weekly inspirational kind of almost sermon-like emails. We haven't had the bandwidth within our staffing to continue those. But I hope to eventually get back to them. They emerged out of the early pandemic period where we weren't able to meet. Otherwise, as Greg said, we have the quarterly spiritual care sessions. We have done trainings around the spiral, the work of eco-philosopher Joanna Macy. We have local spiritual events that we hope to do more of in the coming months, where we could have walks or prayer events or meditations, things like that. And as it is the season, collaborative interfaith events like an Iftar Seder, which is taking place this weekend, or a prayer service at a Unitarian church that one of our other board members is giving a talk about Islam and Ramadan and environment. So many opportunities for us to do those things with your congregations or for you to join us at invited events. As I said, specific trainings, whether related to the toolkit or sustained advocacy around the spiral, project-based training, we're open to all of those things and are more than happy to provide them to congregations. I would like to just end with this closing prayer. It might be a little bit hard for us to do this collectively, but I love to have us all read one line at a time. So maybe I might just call your name and then that you would unmute and say the line. Is that fair enough? Okay. So in closing, we hold the earth. Andrea?
We hold brothers and sisters who suffer from storms and droughts intensified by climate change.
Carrie?
She just had to leave.
Oh. Kathy?
Oh, we hold all species that suffer.
Chris?
We hold world leaders, delegates who make decisions for life.
Sheila?
We pray that the web of life may be mended through courageous actions to limit carbon emissions.
David?
We pray for right actions for adaptation and mitigation to help our already suffering Earth community.
Catherine?
We pray that love and wisdom might inspire my actions and our actions as communities. so that we may, with integrity, look into the eyes of brothers and sisters and all beings and truthfully say we are doing our part to care for them and for the future of the children.
Nathan.
May love transform us and our world with new steps toward life.
So thank you all again so much for being here and for sticking it out. I know we lost a few people along the way, but I just wanted to say, any questions, comments, if you have a pet project that you want us to be involved with, speak up now or email me or anything else, because we really want to be involved. I think that's probably clear from everything that I said. So
If anyone would like to hang on and talk about the grants that we have funding for 2022 through 2024, I'd be happy to hang on for a few minutes and talk with you about that, because that might help you with some of your projects in the future.
yeah, and the grants that we currently have are also probably in your communities, like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and State College and Lancaster. So it's work that we would love for you to be with us on, and it's already stuff we're doing. So you can kind of jump into the stream that's already moving along.
Well, thank you so much. This was extremely informative, and congratulations on wonderful work.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, again, I think that we are strengthened by all of you. You know, I hope that this is just the start, right? If, you know, we had about 20 people on here representing potentially 20 different communities. As I said, we have something close to 60 congregations across the state that are like officially congregations of PIPL. I would love to make that over 100, and then every one of those congregations represents a handful, dozens, hundreds of people potentially. That's a lot of collective power, right? Not counting all of the individuals that come to this work and work with PIPL. So it's about making that network and amplifying that message, because I say this time and time again that I've not yet been on a lobby meeting where the elected official didn't recognize the power and importance of us as a collective community speaking this message.
Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate your work, and Kathy's and Amani's and everybody on the staff.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Nathan. We appreciate all that you do too.
Thank you all for being here, and I hope to speak with all of you very soon. Take care. Blessings.